The underground utility community is growing faster than ever, with an increasing focus on damage prevention throughout the industry. You need to be prepared to get the job done and get it done safely. This video will help you be aware of potential hazards and learn best practices for operating and excavating properly. It is not a substitute for the operator's manual. If you need additional training on your equipment, contact your local Ditch Witch dealer. Before you use your machine, read and understand the operator's manual, which can be found on your machine or at ditchwitch.com. Vacuum excavators are used for a variety of jobs. Ditch Witch vacuum excavators are intended for excavating to expose underground utilities, to support horizontal directional drilling cleanup, and for cleanup of non-hazardous, non-flammable materials. With the underground infrastructure becoming more and more congested, locating and exposing the existing utilities prior to excavation for obstacle avoidance is an essential factor to any safe and successful operation. Vacuum excavation is a means of soft excavation within the tolerance zone and is widely accepted as the preferred method of exposing existing utilities. Use vacuum excavators only for their intended purposes. Vacuuming combustible dust and flammable liquids or gases requires special equipment. Standard Ditch Witch vacuum excavators are not intended for these uses and are not rated for hazardous material transport. In addition to this video and the operator's manual, the safety section of the Ditch Witch website features an extensive list of safety guidelines that we recommend you read and review frequently. Only use original equipment manufacturer replacement parts. Do not make any modifications to your equipment unless it is approved by the Ditch Witch factory. Protect yourself by wearing the appropriate personal protective equipment for the job site. Do not wear any jewelry or loose or frayed clothing that can catch on controls or rotating parts, and tie back all long hair. Always wear eye protection when operating equipment. Excavation with air can create more flying debris than excavating with water. A face shield is required whenever there is flying debris. High-pressure water or air can cut clothes and skin. It can also inject into skin and cause severe injury. Wear appropriate clothing and gloves. Wear a high-visibility vest when working on or near the roadway. Wear a hard hat when there are overhead hazards, such as when working with a boom. If excavating near buried electric lines or using a boom near overhead electric lines, wear electrically insulated boots and gloves rated to the voltage of the line. Vacuum systems can exceed allowable daily noise level exposure limits. Hearing protection is recommended. Follow the PPE manufacturer's recommendations for proper inspection and replace as needed. Now that you have prepared yourself, it's time to prepare your equipment. Regular maintenance and inspection are essential to the safe operation of equipment. With the engine off, key removed, and tank lowered, check all hydraulic hoses and connections for visible signs of leaks or damage daily, and check that all connections are tight. Check all fluid levels and refill as needed. Always refuel with the engine off. Fluid injection can lead to amputation, so when checking for leaks with the system pressurized, always use cardboard, never your hand. Check the safety signs, guards, and shields for any damage and replace if needed. Follow manufacturer recommendations to clean the filters. Only empty the tank at approved sites. If concrete or stone dust has been vacuumed, additional precautions may be required when maintaining the filter and emptying the tank, such as breathing protection or the use of water spray or other means to control dust. Follow all OSHA guidelines for crystalline silica or quartz dust. If working under raised tank or raised tank door, support the cylinders with the provided cylinder locks. Avoid entering the spoils tank, as it may be considered a confined space. OSHA regulations may apply. If a control is not functioning properly, stop operation and have it repaired. If equipped with reverse flow, be sure to check the relief valve or relief opening for the reverse flow system to make sure that it operates freely and flow paths are clear. Consult the operator's manual for other daily service points. An equipment checklist is provided at ditchwitch.com/safe, which includes a list of items to check regularly. You and your machine are ready to work. It's time to prepare the job site. A successful job begins before you start working. Review the information already available about the job and job site. The more you know about and plan for the job site before you begin, the less likely you'll be to work around any surprises. Review blueprints, right-of-way, and maps of existing underground utilities and planned installation. Check for information about existing or planned structures, elevations, or proposed work that may be taking place at the same time. Arrange for any required traffic or pedestrian control needed. Follow local traffic control requirements. In the U.S., the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices is the accepted code. Contact your local one-call to have underground utilities located before digging. Unless it is an emergency, you must give one-call advance notice to allow time for utilities to be marked. Also, contact any utilities that do not participate in the one-call service. Some utility companies locate only to the utility meter, so there may be lines that are not marked. Also, utilities on government land, such as schools, military bases, etc., must be privately located. It is imperative you have all underground lines and cables located and marked before operating equipment, and verify those locates. Remember, locates are not exact. Do not rely on the locate markings alone. Use a locator and information around you to verify locates. Some states have a positive response acknowledgement. You should not begin work until you have positive response, a locate has been completed. Also, some utility providers require a photograph of the proposed excavation area, showing the locate marks, before the contractor is authorized to excavate. If locate marks are damaged, the locate must be repeated. Once the locates have been completed, you are ready to classify the job site according to the underground hazards already in place. For example, if you expose an electrical line, you would wear additional PPE, such as dielectric boots and gloves. Now that you know the potential hazards on the job site, have an emergency response plan in place. Have the local emergency and medical facilities phone numbers on hand, and have access to a telephone. Having procedures in place before an emergency occurs helps you and others respond quickly and effectively. In the event of a damaged electric line, release the trigger control on the lance to break contact. Do not touch the machine. Take small shuffle steps to leave the area. Warn others that an electric strike has occurred. Contact the utility company and do not return until given permission by the utility company. If a gas line is damaged, immediately shut off the engine and remove any ignition sources, if this can be done safely and quickly. Warn others of a possible strike and leave the area as quickly as possible. If the job site is along a street, stop traffic. Contact the utility company and do not return to the job site until given permission by emergency personnel and the utility company. If a fiber optic cable is damaged, do not look into the cut ends of the fiber optic, as it could damage vision. Call the utility company immediately. If the machine catches on fire, shut off the machine and attempt to extinguish if the fire is small and a fire extinguisher is available. If this cannot be done, leave the area and contact emergency personnel. Before every trip, inspect the trailer and tow vehicle. Securely connect safety chains and breakaway devices. Make sure lights are connected and working properly. Check tires for wear and proper inflation. Use the proper hitch type and size, and ensure hitch is mounted so that trailer is level with the ground. A trailer that isn't level will cause the load to shift and will increase wear on axles and distribute weight unevenly. Make sure the tow vehicle is rated for the weight of the equipment and spoils. If the vehicle is not large enough for the load or sloshing liquid, you can lose control of the vehicle. Know the GVWR of the truck or trailer, and know the density of the material being excavated so that you avoid overloading the vehicle. A trailer that can support a full tank of mulch may only be able to support a tank half full of wet sand. See the operator's manual for allowable fill levels of various materials. Secure all tools and stow the boom prior to transporting. Park on a level surface near the area to be excavated or vacuumed. Use chocks when parked or removed from the tow vehicle. Before operating your unit, be familiar with the controls and proper operation of the machine. Before starting, all controls should be on the neutral position, and the reverse flow control, if equipped, should be in the vacuum position. Turn the ignition switch to the on position and adjust throttle to low idle. Survey the area around you frequently and be aware of your surroundings. Maintain line of sight to any moving component, such as the debris tank door, boom, or debris tank body when using controls, including the remote control. Know what you are vacuuming and what may already be in the tank. Some chemicals are not compatible and can react violently and can even cause an explosion under the right conditions. Some tanks may not be suited for corrosive chemicals. Keep suction hose away from face and body parts. The suction from vacuum excavation can suffocate or cause serious injury to flesh and limbs. To break suction at the end of the hose, open an inlet valve on the tank or shut off machine. Shut off the engine to correct a clogged hose. Many variables must be considered to prevent damage to existing underground utilities. These include nozzle selection, water or air pressure, water temperature, distance from utility, duration of exposure, and type or age of utility. The most important factor for preventing damage is nozzle selection. Only rotary or conical nozzles should be used around existing utilities. You cannot use every nozzle for every application. Ditch Witch dealers offer a conical nozzle, which is effective for moving soil without damaging utilities. Straight nozzles, also known as zero-degree nozzles, should never be used around buried utilities. Regardless of the nozzle used, the most important factor after nozzle selection is to keep the lance moving. Never hold the lance motionless while excavating around utilities. Depending on the age and type of utilities, pressure should be reduced when nearing the utility. If using heated water, reduce the pressure even further to prevent damage. Use the lance to cut away and soften soil. Do not insert the lance into the ground. This helps prevent touching the utility with the tip and also prevents damage to the nozzle. Keep the tip above the excavated soil. As mentioned, keep the lance moving. Vacuum loosened soil. Identify all overhead power lines in the area prior to starting. Always stay away from any overhead electric lines while operating raised equipment and booms. Depending on the voltage and the proximity, overhead lines can arc to equipment. The distance an arc can travel is dependent upon the voltage of the line. Follow OSHA regulations for working near overhead power lines. If the voltage is unknown, you must keep equipment at least 20 feet away from energized lines. Assume every electrical line is energized and uninsulated. If you must work near overhead lines, de-energize lines or have a spotter whose sole job is dedicated to making sure that the required distance is maintained. Meet with all personnel at the job site before work begins to review the location of the power lines, precautions to take, and areas to avoid. Do not climb on equipment unless proper access systems are provided. If not provided, use an appropriate access system to conduct maintenance on booms and tanks. Use ladders and handholds provided with truck-mounted systems. Keep all access systems clear of mud and debris. Always ensure boom is stowed before raising the tank and before driving. Be aware that some booms swing freely. Use care when operating free-swinging booms on a slope. Never open any components when the unit is operating in reverse flow, including the filter housing, valves, or spoils tank door. Switch to vacuum or shut-off engine before opening any system component. Air systems can be used for excavating or for operating auxiliary air tools. Check the air tool manufacturer's information for airflow requirements, as most air tools require the low air setting on Ditch Witch vacs. Ditch Witch Air Saber can operate with either high or low air settings. Make sure the hose reel valve is closed when starting the air system. Ditch Witch air excavation systems are equipped with a velocity fuse, also known as an OSHA valve, to prevent hose whip if a hose or fitting fails. Air excavation tends to produce more flying debris. Consider the surroundings and determine any shielding that may be required. A face shield is required. Regulations for disposal of the spoils tank contents vary from state to state. Only dispose the contents in approved locations. Some states do not allow excavated soil to be placed back in the excavation if it has been mixed with water. It is important to know the regulations before you get to the job so that spoils removal can be planned. To properly empty the tank, open the drain valve and allow liquid to drain. Once the tank is half empty, open the door and raise the tank. Do not attempt to lift a full tank. Don't drive with tank or door in the raised position. Know where your coworkers are when operating equipment. Have a clear view of the door area and under the tank when raising or lowering the components. Your job is important. It is your responsibility to know the proper procedures, make sure the equipment and job site is ready to go, and maintain a safe working environment. Be a proactive and safe operator. We're here to help you get the job done safely, efficiently, and effectively. After all, we're in this together.